Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge into fascinating topics and extract the most important insights just for you.
Hey there.
Today, we're doing something truly unique. We're bridging the wisdom of an ancient Khmer folktale with, well, the very modern challenge of navigating a global health crisis.
It sounds almost impossible, doesn't it? An ancient story holding secrets for a pandemic?
Exactly. Imagine that a folktale containing practical advice, not just on human nature, but on societal leadership during something like COVID. It's a connection you really won't expect.
But that's precisely what we're going to explore. This deep dive will unravel the layers of a really foundational Khmer New Year folktale.
Looking at its rich symbolism, right? Things like leadership, societal critique.
Yeah. Human flaws, the timeless importance of virtue, all that. And then we'll pivot and see how this ancient narrative, quite unexpectedly, offers really striking relevance and guidance for a modern pandemic.
And we're drawing insights from this really remarkable source material. KDF.
Right. That's the core document we're digging into today.
So that's our mission. Unpack this rich material, pull out those key nuggets of knowledge, and maybe uncover some surprising facts to help you get really well informed with the profound meaning in this tradition and its, well, astonishing applications.
Okay, let's dive in. Where does the story begin?
So the story kicks off with the New Year, specifically the Year of the Rat, which is known as Tosak, back in 2020.
Ah, okay. So fairly recent context for when this source was likely reflecting.
Exactly. And it's ushered in by the New Year angel, Nang Thorakatavi. She's the second daughter of a powerful deity named Kapila Maha Brahma.
And she has a specific role.
Yes, her sacred duty is to protect Brahma's head. It's a key part of the whole thing.
Interesting. And this tale, it's central to the Khmer New Year.
Absolutely central. It's said to be found in something called the Maha Sankara Sutra.
Which is a significant ancient text, presumably.
Very significant, though our source actually notes there's some uncertainty about whether it's actually in the Khmer Tipitaka, the main collection of Buddhist scriptures.
Okay, so right away there's a bit of a blurred line between cultural tradition and strict scriptural canon.
Exactly. It kind of tells us we're probably looking at something more allegorical, less literal history. Make sense?
All right, who are the main players in this story?
Okay, first up, there's Dhammabal Kumar. He's a boy from a wealthy family, and he's described as exceptionally knowledgeable and virtuous, like a Apaniik, which means supreme wisdom or brilliance.
Wow. So a prodigy.
Totally. By age 7, he's already mastered the Tripitaka, the core Buddhist scriptures. He can even speak to birds, apparently.
Talk to birds. Okay, definitely moving into folktale territory there.
Right, and he becomes this revered teacher, attracting widespread admiration. Just this incredibly wise young man.
Okay. And the other main figure, Kapila Maha Brahma.
Yeah, Kapila Maha Brahma. He's described as a powerful supreme deity, respected for dispensing blessings.
And he has this interesting feature. 4 faces.
Yes, allowing him to see in all 4 directions at once. It's not just literal sight. It kind of hints at his vast knowledge, maybe omnipresence.
So you've got this brilliant human, Dhammabal Kumar, getting famous, and this all-seeing deity, Brahma. What happens?
Well, here's the twist. Brahma becomes incredibly envious of Dhammabal Kumar's growing fame because it starts to surpass his own.
Ah, envy, even among deities. So pride and jealousy enter the picture.
Exactly, and this envy drives him to challenge Dhammabal Kumar. He poses 3 really profound riddles.
Okay, what are they?
They dig into human well-being, daily life stuff. First, where does human good fortune reside in the morning?
Okay.
Second, where does human good fortune reside at noon?
All right.
And third, where does human good fortune reside in the evening?
Those sound simple, but I bet they're tricky. And what are the stakes? Usually pretty high in these old stories.
Oh, impossibly high. If Dhammabal Kumar gets him right, Brahma promises to cut off his own head and offer it.
Seriously. But if Dhammabal fails, Brahma will cut off Dhammab's head as a trophy.
Wow. Okay, so it's literally life and death. Wisdom versus pride. How long does he get?
7 days. Just 7 days to find the answers. It's a classic setup, isn't it?
Absolutely. High tension right from the start.
Yeah.
So how does he figure it out? He must be struggling.
He totally struggles. Days go by, he can't find the answers. It gets to the 6th day, and he's actually thinking about, ending it all because he can't solve them.
Oh, desperate.
Yeah. But then he overhears a conversation. 2 birds, a male and female Encanti bird, nesting in a big palm tree.
The talking birds again. Okay, what do they say?
Well, the female bird asks the male what they'll eat tomorrow morning, and the male bird says, chillingly, they'll eat Dhammabal Kumar's flesh because he's going to fail the riddles and be killed.
Whoa, that's dark. And convenient for Dhammabal, I guess.
Right. A serious wake-up call. So the female bird, she asks, well, what are the answers then?
And the male bird just spills the beans. Yep. He reveals the solutions. In the morning, good fortune is on the face. That's why people wash their face.
Okay.
At noon, it resides on the chest. Hence, people putting lotion or perfume there.
Makes a certain kind of symbolic sense, I guess.
And in the evening, good fortune is on the feet, which is why people wash their feet before bed.
Huh. Interesting. Very embodied answers.
Totally. So Dhammabal hears this, rushes back to his palace, armed with the answers from the birds.
And wins the challenge, obviously.
He does. Kapila Mahabrahma is forced to fulfill his promise. He has to cut off his own head.
Wow. But wait, doesn't that create, like, a massive problem? A deity's head just lying around?
Exactly. That's the next major part. Brahma's head is catastrophic. The source says if it touched the earth, the whole world would burn up.
Okay, bad.
If thrown into the air, no rain for 7 years, total drought.
Also bad.
And if tossed in the ocean, it would dry up all the waters.
Right, so basically cosmic disaster no matter what. How do they solve that?
Brahma, before the end, commands his 7 daughters, who are actually disciples of Indra, to handle it. They have to take turns carrying his head on a golden tray.
Take turns? For how long?
1 year each. This cycle, this procession of the daughters carrying the head, becomes this huge symbolic annual event.
Ah, so that's the connection to the New Year ritual.
Exactly. It's not just a dramatic ending. It's the mythological foundation for the Khmer New Year tradition itself. The angels descending each year are essentially these daughters in their cycle.
What an incredible story. So much drama, symbolism.
It's a gripping tale on its own, right? But like we always find on the deep dive, the real juice is in what it means. So is this just a fantasy, or does it tap into something deeper about society?
Well, the author's pretty clear. They see it as a Khmer folktale, definitely not literal history or even strict Buddhist doctrine.
Hope so.
For one, in formal Buddhism, Brahma is more of a state of mind, right? Pure, non-gendered. Very different from the Brahmanic tradition where Brahma might have kids in physical forms.
And the talking animals are a bit of a giveaway too, I suppose.
Yeah, that clearly signals we're in the realm of traditional storytelling, allegory, not historical record. But that doesn't make it less powerful as a mirror to society.
Okay, so it's allegory. Let's dive into that. How does this story reflect Cambodian society, or maybe society in general? What about Brahma's character? What does his envy tell us about leadership?
It points directly to pretty critical issues of leadership and vice. The story can be read as reflecting a governing system, maybe past or maybe as a warning, where leaders lose mudita.
Mudita. That's sympathetic joy, right?
Yeah.
Being happy for others' success.
Exactly. The ability to genuinely rejoice when someone else does well. Instead, Brahma embodies the opposite. Envy, resentment. He can't stand anyone being greater or better.
You see that sometimes, leaders feeling threatened by rising stars.
Right. And the story asks a crucial question. What happens when a leader lacks even one of those core virtues, like mudita? The implication is it leads to destructive actions.
That's powerful. And Dhammabal Kumar, he seems like the hero, the reformer.
He definitely embodies that archetype, yes. He represents social activists, maybe whistleblowers, figures who emerge when governance seems unjust or lacks those royal virtues.
People pushing for justice, compassion.
Exactly. Loving kindness, equanimity, the counterbalance, pushing against potentially oppressive rule, trying to improve things.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about those Encanti birds? They save Dhammabal, but you hinted they represent something else too.
Yeah, this is fascinating. The source suggests the birds symbolize opportunists. You know, the kind of people who exist everywhere in any society.
How so?
They exploit situations for personal gain. And crucially, they possess knowledge. They know what's going on, from the streets to the palace, maybe even confidential stuff. They hear things.
Okay, the information brokers, maybe gossip mongers.
Could be. But here's the twist. The source points out that Dhammabal Kumar himself acts as an opportunist here, and maybe even a plagiarist.
Ah, because he secretly used the information he overheard from the birds, like cheating on a test.
Exactly, like a student stealing a thesis. So even the reformer isn't entirely pure. He benefits from this hidden, maybe ill-gotten knowledge. It complicates his character.
So not a simple hero-villain story, then. More shades of gray.
Definitely. And that leads to another point. The story highlights a failure in conflict management, doesn't it?
How do you mean?
Well, Brahma's first instinct is to destroy Dhammabal out of envy. And Dhammabal, despite all his wisdom, doesn't show compassion towards Brahma, nor does he fess up about the birds.
He doesn't admit how he got the answers.
No. The author suggests, what if he had? If he'd admitted learning from the birds, maybe things could have de-escalated. Maybe leader and reformer could have found a way to coexist.
Instead, it's win-lose, all or nothing, a destructive confrontation.
Exactly. It points to a breakdown in communication, understanding, and maybe reconciliation between different powerful forces in society.
That feels very relevant, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So what's the final takeaway from Brahma's predicament? His head needing to be carried perpetually.
I think Brahma's final command and the whole situation with the head really underscores the absolute critical importance of upholding the four Brahma Vihara Dhamma.
Let's list those again. Upekkha,
Equanimity, balance,
mudita,
sympathetic joy,
karuna,
compassion,
and metta.
loving kindness. These four sublime states. The story's stark warning is that neglecting these, especially for a leader, can bring utter disaster to society, even the environment, symbolically.
So losing even one, like Brahma losing mudita to envy.
It's like metaphorically cutting off the head of good leadership. It unleashes chaos. These virtues aren't just nice-to-haves, they're foundational for preventing societal collapse, according to this interpretation.
Wow. It's incredible how an ancient story packs such a relevant punch about leadership ethics.
Absolutely. And it doesn't stop there. Our source is something remarkable. It draws a direct and quite poignant line from this ancient tale to a very modern crisis.
Right, you mentioned a deadly disease that disrupted the New Year gatherings in 2020. They must be talking about COVID-19.
They are, explicitly. The source uses the tale's wisdom to frame the challenges of the pandemic, particularly around that specific Khmer New Year.
How does it connect the two?
It sets up this tension between fundamental Buddhist principles and deeply ingrained cultural practices.
Okay.
Buddhist philosophy, the source reminds us, teaches that it's better to sacrifice property for your organs, sacrifice organs for your life,
Right.
and sacrifice all three, property, organs, and life, for the sake of Dharma, the truth, or the teachings.
Okay, so Dharma is the ultimate value.
Yes. And in the context of the pandemic, the source argues the most crucial Dharma, the most vital principle, was simply this: not to be careless.
Ah, mindfulness, practical awareness. Don't put yourself and others at risk.
Exactly. It's a call to practical, mindful action for survival. Life preservation becomes paramount.
That must have created friction, though. Khmer New Year is huge, culturally. Gathering at temples is central.
It absolutely did. It presents a profound dilemma. The source acknowledges Khmer New Year is incredibly significant culturally, a time for community at the temples. But it also points out it's not fundamentally a Buddhist ritual in the same way as, say, observing precepts.
So culture versus immediate survival, based on Dharma.
Precisely. And the source asks that really tough question. If gathering leads to widespread death, who will be left to preserve the culture anyway?
Oof, yeah.
The argument, quite forcefully made, is that human life simply has to be valued above cultural traditions when they come into direct conflict like this. It was a necessary, if painful, shift in priorities.
A stark choice, like you said, faced by so many worldwide. So how did the tradition adapt then if large gatherings were canceled? Did the spiritual aspect just stop?
No, and this is another fascinating point. The source says that despite canceling big gatherings, the New Year angels Brahma's daughters still descend. They still transfer power.
So the core spiritual event continues.
Yes, the essence continues. The main change was practical. Offerings were made at home, individually or in families, instead of congregating at the temple.
Okay.
And there's this beautiful detail. The angels even adapt their duties. They shift to focus on cooling the night, offering peace, expressing pity for human suffering during the pandemic, altering their divine schedules, as it were, to protect people.
Wow, that's a really comforting image. The spiritual world adapting alongside the human one.
It shows how the narrative itself could be adapted to provide solace and continuity during a crisis.
What about guidance for interacting with, say, monks? Since temples were central, but risky.
The text gets very practical there, too. It advised maintaining a 2-meter distance when interacting with monks.
Social distancing, even with spiritual leaders.
Yes. And for offerings, like donations, it suggested making them verbally. Announce the offering, like you might for someone sick who can't physically receive something.
Treating it with care, protecting everyone involved.
Exactly. It raises that important question. How do we keep our spiritual leaders safe while still upholding reverence and tradition? And the need was real. The source mentions a very sad, sobering fact.
What's that?
A Cambodian monk living in the United States actually became the first Cambodian monk known to die from COVID-19, even in a highly developed country.
Oh, wow. That really underscores the severity, the reach of the threat. It wasn't just a distant problem.
No, it was a stark reminder that everyone was vulnerable.
So, given all this, the folktales warnings, the pandemic's reality, what was the ultimate Dharma, the key takeaway message for people during that New Year crisis, according to this source?
The most important dharma, the most crucial practice for that specific New Year season, was boiled down to something incredibly simple. Sleeping at home.
Stay at home.
Basically, yes. Don't wander around aimlessly. Don't gather with friends for drinking and socializing, because the danger was invisible and everywhere. Anyone could get infected.
Sounds familiar.
Right. And the text strongly advises listening to government instructions. Follow the public health guidelines for life preservation. It emphasizes that everyone is at risk, including monks.
Even monks weren't exempt.
No, they feared both getting sick themselves and, crucially, spreading it to the lay community they serve. The message was clear. Carelessness, disrespecting safety protocols. That invites the disease. It will strike everyone, including the monks people rely on for spiritual care.
It's a culture of collective responsibility, grounded in that core dharma of not being careless.
Absolutely.
So we've really journeyed quite a distance today, from this ancient Khmer folktale packed with symbolism about leadership, envy, societal roles.
All the way to its surprisingly direct, poignant relevance for navigating a global health crisis just a few years ago.
Yeah, this deep dive has really shown how those timeless virtues, compassion, sympathetic joy, equanimity, and just that simple, profound act of not being careless remain absolutely essential for our collective well-being.
It's truly amazing, isn't it? How ancient wisdom can echo so clearly and offer such practical guidance for challenges that seem entirely
It
new.
really is.
And the source wraps up with this powerful invocation, sort of a blessing or a prayer. May Upeka, Mudita, Karuna, and Metta infuse the Khmer heart to prevent corona from infecting us.
The 4 Brahma Viharas again as protection.
Yes. And then it adds, once you've read this, go home. Dharma always protects those who practice Dharma. A final reminder of that practical action.
Go home. Practice Dharma. Be careful.
Exactly. So the final thought for you listening is maybe this. What does all this mean for you? How can you apply the profound wisdom from these old stories?
Insights into leadership, maybe your own flaws, the importance of simple, mindful actions.
Right. How can you use that to navigate the challenges, big or small, in your own life? And how can it help you contribute to the well-being of those around you, especially when things get unpredictable?
Something definitely worth reflecting on.